What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today, Pop Smoke Shake the Room featuring 𝐏𝐈𝐆𝐈𝐄𝐈. There's a lot of interesting little effects in here that I think are worth talking about, so we're going to show you exactly how to do that. And we're not going to spend too much time on the breakdown. I'll leave a link down below if you want to check it out. The only thing I want to mention is I'm going to show you how we can recreate a VHS look similar to this. If you want the most authentic looking VHS look, if you want the thing that is most similar to what they're showing here in terms of the scan lines, the exact quality, I recommend you buy an actual VHS camera. There's just a limitation for what After Effects Premiere can do in terms of recreating this exact look. The next thing we're going to talk about is these crazy little morph distortion things, such as that shot there. It kind of stretches and distorts into the next scene. Now there's two different ways you can do this. I'm going to show you a way where you can do it the normal way in Adobe Premiere, and I'm also going to show you a way where you can customize it a little bit more. There's some little subtle 3D things that they toss in here, and it happens only a couple times throughout the actual music video. Here's another little example of some of the distortion that we were talking about, this crazy slow-mo warping distortion. So here's one of the little 3D examples. It kind of pans in here and you see just this broken up head, and it's very glitchy. Everything's happening very fast again, but we'll show you how to get some sort of 3D face scan very easily. You can do it on an app on your phone for free, and we'll go into some more advanced methods as well. So if we quickly break this down, what you're seeing is some 3D scan information of the city of Paris. Now, this looks like it's from Google Images, and there's actually a way where you can take Google image information into 3D softwares. So we'll show you how to do that. Here they have the little Ferrari that they're driving in 3D as well. The last thing I want to say is they have a lot of this B-roll. Get something that looks like this, where it's these long streaks of light. You just need to shoot your footage at a slow shutter speed. Leave a link to a tutorial I made fully mapping out everything that I just mentioned when it comes to the shutter speed. All right, guys, so starting off, let's talk about creating this distortion and customizing the distortion. There's two main ways to be able to do it. So the first way is super easy. You'll see it right here. To be able to create this kind of distorted transition that they use a lot throughout the video, you just need to use a little morph cut effect in Adobe Premiere. So just go to your effects and presets, search for the morph cut, and place that between two clips just like that. You can change the duration for however long you want it to, and of course it's going to look different every time depending on the footage. So here's the results I got for those two clips. Now the next thing I want to mention, and this is a very similar look, but in my opinion I think it's better to do it this way because you have a lot more control over the outcome. I actually made a video talking about this many months ago, but it was about this KSI music video. I haven't seen this effect used that many times, and I think that there's a lot that people can do with this to build upon it and add into it. So as you see, we have these little glitch overlays, and the morphing is kind of reacting with the glitch overlay, if that makes sense. So to be able to accomplish something like this, I'm just going to grab some glitching overlays. So I have this pack here. If you guys need some glitch overlays, check out my website. We have a free pack available for download, link down below. And they're pretty short clips, so I'm just going to drag in a bunch of them so that we can get different looks. You guys can loop them together. I'm going to select them, right click, and I'm going to nest them. And this is basically taking all the little sub clips and combining them into one master clip, or pre-composing if you want. So now we have this nested sequence, and it's just this long strung out video of all these glitch overlays. And if you guys don't want to use the free one, in my description, you guys can of course just search on the internet, free glitch overlay. There's a bunch of different options available. But either way, select that nested clip, go up to your effect controls. We're going to go to the opacity area here, and I'm just going to change the blending mode to screen. And of course, if you want, you can experiment with the different blending modes. So once you have this screened over top of your footage, what you want to do is you want to select both of these clips, right click, and nest them together. Now with this nested clip, we're going to right click, speed duration. We're going to put it on 15% or below. You guys, again, can experiment with the number. And time interpolation, put that on optical flow. If you're not seeing that, you may need to upgrade your version of Adobe Premiere, but by now you guys probably should have this option here if you guys are using any Adobe Premiere in the last 3 versions, I'm pretty sure. Now you see all this glitching. We're going to sequence render selection of this, and voila, you guys can check out the creation that you just made. Some really cool stuff. Whenever it transitions, it's very similar to data moshing in my opinion, but it's its own unique look. It's also very similar to that morph cut, but we're doing it using that time interpolation, and you get that smooth slow motion. Another thing I want to mention is depending on the frame rate of the clip that you are using, you're going to get a different result every time. If you're using a slow motion clip, you're not going to get as much much morphing. If you're using something shot at like 24 frames per second, standard 30 frames per second, you're going to get a lot more of these artifacts, the morphing, the glitching. So keep that in mind when you are creating a look like this. And that method goes for many different combinations as well. You don't have to just use a glitch overlay. You can use any different overlay. You can use the blending modes of 2 different scenes and try and morph and glitch them together. In the original video I made talking about this, I noticed that if you do this without any overlays on top, so for example, I have this clip just blowing smoke right here. For some reason it looks very good with smoke, so I'm just going to right click this clip. Speed duration is 15, put it on optical flow, and then of course render selection. There was already this crazy glow on the clip, but you can see it really makes it smooth, this cool glitch morph into the next scene. So again, there's a lot of things that you guys can do with this. I think if people experiment, you'll find that there's a lot of really cool new looking stuff that you can accomplish. So next up, we're briefly going to talk on creating your own little VHS scanline look. Again, I recommend if you want to get the most authentic looking VHS, you shoot on VHS. It's always going to look better in my opinion. But if you're working with only an editing software and clips and you want to get as close to it as possible, let's start with some fresh footage. So if you're doing this within Adobe Premiere, I recommend first steps first, we'll go to our effects and presets. We're going to drop a little unsharpen mask onto here. So unsharp mask, drag that on here, bump up the amount, and you're going to get this edgy, you're going to get this really contrasty sharp edges that looks very dated. As you can see on the railings, it kind of gives you a better visual representation of that. Mess around with the amount. It's going to be different depending on your footage. Don't just copy my amounts. Every footage is going to be different. Just get the look that you want by changing the values. Next thing you want to do is you can experiment with a channel blur effect. So under blur and sharpen, drop that onto your footage here. Depending on what type of blur you want, you can change any of these values. So red blurriness, green blurriness, the blue channel, you're basically just blurring the color channels and getting a little bit of this hue, as you can see. Now I recommend you put on repeat edge pixels so that you don't have any of this fringing on the edges here. Now if this is just looking a little bit too HD, you guys can of course go over and just add a little noise effect. This is just going to add a little bit of scratchiness, a little bit of texture onto here. You guys can use color noise or normal noise. The noise effect is very different depending on your render settings, so I recommend you just do some tests so you're sure what you are making. Now the biggest one here is adding in scan lines. There's a lot of different ways to do this. There's a lot of presets, there's a lot of plugins. I actually stumbled across this YouTube video here, so shout out to Redifer. He has this GameSack retro video free effect pack, and it's for Final Cut, but of course they're just MOV PNG clips, so you can use this in any editor. And the purpose of doing this was to just add more realistic texture into video game looks, things like that. And we can also do that with real footage. So go down to the description here. It's a free download. Here is the folder. Of course, you have your Mac and your Windows option. And inside here, we're just going to grab some of these scan lines. And they're pretty HD. I looked through a lot of different options. This was probably one of the best ones I found. There's also some free little glitch overlays here, which you can overlay. Pretty thorough and great. So shout out to him again. All you need to do is drag one of these, scale it to the frame size, and then just change your blending mode. Grab your scan lines 1080p and go ahead and drop that over top of your footage here. To be able to see this properly, I recommend you grab the scanline PNG and you start to scale it. You'll see kind of popping up there. It's pretty hard to see, but the more you scale it up, the easier it will be to see. So I scaled it up like 1,000 just to be able to actually visually see it. I'm just going to gradually scale it down until I get something that I want. You can mess around with the blending modes for this as well. I like something like soft light, I think worked well. So that is a way to do it in Adobe Premiere. Now, there's one last step. What I did actually, I redid all of those steps within Adobe After Effects, and my reasoning for doing this, if you just right click your clip, go to replace with After Effects composition, it'll open into After Effects. My reasoning for doing this is within After Effects, we can add one more little step, which I think just adds a bit more to the look. Now, the only thing that I did different is on my footage here, if we click on Effect Controls, you're gonna see I added this displacement map effect. So you can search for displacement map, drag it onto here. I set my displacement map layer to be the scanline PNG that I was talking about earlier. And then I just added a little bit of displacement here just to fully change around the look of the scan lines. I also duplicated the footage, put it on screen, and then just move it over one frame. So there's a little bit of ghosting, but I'll hide that for now. If we move these values, it's going to move around the scan lines and it's going to just give us a little bit of offset look, a little bit of ghosting look. I think that just makes it a little bit closer to the original, but again, shooting on VHS will always look better in general. I also just added this little posterize effect just to kind of rough the footage up a bit more. Just put it on level 3. So again, you could just search for your effects and presets, add posterize. All right, now let's get on to adding the 2 3D things. The first one is going to be just adding a 3D car. Very easy, not a lot of crazy shading. It kind of was just rotating around. And then the second one is 3D faces, as well as we'll talk about using some Google Earth View 3D scans. So pretty easy stuff in terms of your beginning into 3D. If you need help with any of this, I'll leave links to my full step-by-step Element 3D, Cinema 4D guides where I talk about this, because we're going to zoom through, but again, it's a very easy process. If you have Element 3D for After Effects, you're going to right click down here and go to New and create a solid. I'm going to go to my effects and presets and apply the element effect onto here. And again, you're going to need Element 3D. If not, you can use Blender, you can use Cinema 4D. We'll leave some options below. Click Scene Setup, and it's going to open up this little 3D UI here. Now we just need to import a 3D car model. So pop over here. I'm going to go to Turbo Squid. So I'm going to download this Mercedes-Benz here. Let's go ahead and grab our OBJ version so we can expand this, grab the OBJ. They also have a textures folder, which is great. Back in Element 3D, we're going to go and click import, and I'm going to find what I just downloaded. So OBJ. Of course, you guys can use any free textures. You just need to drag them in, but I'm just going to do this to save some time. So once you've done that, you'll see your 3D model here. A cool little feature, you can actually click group 1 and you can create a group null. So click create, and you can actually use this null to transform wherever your car is going to be. So it'll follow here. So you won't have to go through the world transform options in Element. You could just use that null, have it kind of fly by like the other video did. We'll change the orientation here, and then we will change the position so it flies through. At the beginning here, we'll keyframe everything in this null. We'll drag a bit to where we want this animation to happen, and we're just going to change our position so it kind of just like flies through, rotates through, whatever you guys really want it to do. There you guys go. Car kind of skirts through. If you want that to be longer, just grab your keyframes and drag them out. It's actually pretty cool. So something like that, Element 3D is useful because you can apply it into After Effects in seconds. You don't have to go through different workflows. So now let's talk about how to add 3D face scans into your videos. Now I actually made a promoted video a few months back where we talked about this specific app which you can use to 3D scan someone's face. Very useful because you can do this on set. Just whip out your phone, take a quick little 3D scan of their face or something that you want to bring into the video, and you can save that for later. So I'll leave all the information to that down below. It's very useful. It's 100% free. So when it comes to adding this 3D city scans that you saw in the video of Paris, there's 2 ways to do it. Now the first way, and I've done this before in the little Paris video that I made whenever I was there, so it's kind of coincidence that it just worked out that way. What I did is, if you go to Google Earth, just search it on Google or download the actual application, search to wherever you would like to 3D scan the buildings, and let's just zoom in on Paris here. As you see, I think by default it already turns on this 3D the 3D satellite view of it. So if I click 3D here, you'll be able to see all this scan information. If I zoom in, you can literally see, and if I zoom in here, you'll be able to see that it looks pretty good. So what I did is I literally just found what I wanted to make and I screen recorded it. So let's find the Eiffel Tower. Here's the Louvre. And here it is right here. So you guys can create some pretty cool little clips just scanning that. You may need to make it full screen, which I think is easier if you use the app and not just use the web browser. Another way, and this is probably more efficient because you can control the lighting, add a lot of different things, add cameras, and that is actually using an application and method to take the 3D scan information from Google Earth and bring it into a 3D software such as Blender. Now this tutorial here fully maps out exactly how to do that by Michael. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it's a 5-minute tutorial. You're going to have to download and this maps model importer from, I think, GitHub. So follow along with that tutorial if you really want to get into it and you want to fully customize, add different lighting, add different cameras, and go to work with this in a 3D software. As you can see, it does it super fast. And there it is. This was directed by Off-White and Virgil Abloh. And usually, a lot of the Lil Uzi stuff they did before, I didn't really like. This one I actually liked a lot. So props to them. thought they did a good job. Anyways, guys, let me know in the comments below what you want to see next. I know that there's a new brother video out, 645 AR, some cool 3D stuff in there, some really trippy things going on. If you want me to make a tutorial on that, leave a like on the video, comment below. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for supporting, and I'll see you guys in the next one.